I found these cute little glasses in a charity shop. I don't know what they are, whether they're port or little sherry glasses, I'm not sure. They were 3 for £1. And those stems are really cute, and I think the stems would make lovely mushrooms, and I think the tops would make cute tulips. So let's chop them up. These are rod nippers. I use them for cutting rods of glass in my workshop, but they're really good at cutting the stems off glasses too. I just score it all the way around and then give it a little tap, and it should just pop off. Just like that. So that's come apart quite neatly, but these edges are sharp, so I need to go and grind them down. Well, let's do the others. So I've turned on the 120 grit grinding wheel, and I need to get this as flat as possible, otherwise my mushroom will be wonky. You can see it's a little bit off, so it'll just take a little bit of work pushing it back and forward on that grinding wheel to get it nice and even. I absolutely don't go this fast. I have sped the video up so you don't get bored. So that looks nice and flat now. I'm pleased with that, and on to the next stage. And the next part is to polish that down with a hand lapping station, and this is a 320 grit powder. Just pop a little bit onto a glass plate, a little drop of washing up liquid and a splash of water. Then I forgot to press play, and I've already polished 2 stems, so this is the 3rd one. I'm just balancing it carefully in my fingers and giving it a figure of 8 movement until it gets all of that 120 grit surface polished down into a 320 grit surface. That's all 3 little stems polished up now, so I'll go and give them a rinse. The rinsing is really important, because if I was to take one tiny little grit of 320 to the 600 station, you get a nasty scratch in your work. Now, because I've ground this flat, the edges round here can be quite sharp, so I need to make sure that I dull them down a little bit with a little bit of 400 grit sandpaper. If I do this, it minimises the risk of cracking and chipping as I carry on polishing. Much smoother and softer now. Lovely. Right, the next stage of polishing is to take it down to a 600 grit, but the bucket's empty. But there's some dried on the glass, so there might just be enough for me to do these 3 little pieces. So again, as before, balance it and for a figure of 8 until it's polished down to a 600 grit. And a 600 polish is absolutely fine for what I'm going to be doing with them, which is UV gluing. You don't need to polish it any further up with pumice or cerium. 600's just perfect. The mushroom heads for these little 3 mushrooms are these lenses that I've got a big box of. They're rejects from a lens company, which very kindly got given to me. So I'm going to go onto this lathe that you see behind me with a diamond encrusted brass wheel. Now this is really soft to the touch. Look, I can rub my fingers on it, I can rub it over my hands, but it will just carve through glass like butter. It's an amazing little bit of kit. So I'm going to pop that wheel onto the lathe, get it tightened up. Turn on the water, make sure it's dripping down over the wheel, because this stops your glass from getting hot and cracking. And away we go. I'm going to carve right down the top of the dome to the other side, all the way over. I mean, it's not as straight as it could be, but I'm good like that. I just call it organic. I'm going to cross it in the opposite direction. Now I can do halfway for this. Makes it a little bit easier to handle. Turn it round and do the other half. And now we have a hot cross bun. Let's do some more. Looking pretty. I think I'm going to squeeze another set in between now. And I'm happy with that. Looks quite cool, don't you think? So I'm going to give it a good wash and off for the next stage. So they're all washed, dust-free, nice and clean. I've got the 3 of them here, and I'm going to make them all glowy. I have this Rust-Oleum glow-in-the-dark paint. Now this needs to go on top of like a white surface to get the best results. So I'm going to use a white Posca pen. I'll give it a quick shake and then I'm just literally going to draw into those cut lines with the Posca. And there we go. Right, let's do the other two. That's all three done and I think they look okay. I quite like the magnification underneath, that's quite pretty. But on to the next stage. Let's get this can open and get some of this glow-in-the-dark paint on. You've got to give it a good stir, so I've got a little wooden spoon here. I'm using the end of the wooden spoon. It's like condensed milk. Remember that stuff? My mum used to put it on sandwiches for us when we were kids. Condensed milk sandwich. Did anybody else have that? Anyway, now I'm going to paint it onto the grooves on top of the Posca paint. And I'm going to speed this video up because it'd be really boring watching me paint all of these stripes. And there we go, all painted. And I'll do the other two. You have to wait 2 hours in between coats, but the 2 hours are up by the magic of video. So I'm going to give them all a second coat of this lovely condensed milk. And again, sped up so you don't get too bored. Now it's the day after. These I've had overnight to make sure they're super dry, and it's off to the glue room. I'm in the glue room, my gloves are on. I'm going to be using this Bull Verifix UV glue, which is fixed with a UV light. Apologies for my hand being in the way of the camera, but I'm just putting a tiny little blob of glue on the top of these wine stems. Then I'm going to balance the mushroom heads on top, quite precariously. But I thought better of it, decided to take a couple of them away and do them one by one and have a little bit more control over how they were going to sit. Just a warning, there's a slight strobe effect coming up. I'll let you know when it's finished. So I've got this little mushroom set up, it's all balanced, it's not glued at all, it's just sitting there, won't be glued till the UV light hits it. I'm turning the UV light on, I'm going to turn the room light off and let the magic begin. Adding in the second and third mushrooms because that first mushroom should be kind of quite stuck by now, hopefully. And the tops are stuck to the stem, so I'm just going to turn them over and give them a little bathe through the bottom. I like to make sure that the UV lights hit every part of that glue to make it super strong. So, torch off, light back on, the strobe effect is now finished if you want to open your eyes, and the mushrooms are all set and looking rather nice. So one final stage before they're finished, and on the Rust-Oleum tin it does say to give a coat of varnish to help protect it because the paint can be a little bit chippy. So I'm just going to do that. I've got this varnish that I've been using for my gilding. I've been gilding some glasses recently for another project, and I just think that this will probably just do perfectly. I've already got it mixed up, so why not use it? So I'm just going to paint it on top of the stripes that I've already got. And I'll speed up the video so you're not too bored. So I've now switched to a home setting. Here's the little mushrooms on my sideboard at home, and I'm going to flick the light off and let's see if they work. Ooh, glowy little mushrooms. Well, I think we can safely say that that was a successful project, and these are dead cute, I think. What do you think? Well, thanks for watching another of my mad ideas, and I'll see you at the next one.